Feel free to turn your cameras on or off, whatever you're most comfortable with. I know some of you are joining us from your schools and it could be a little bit busy in the background, so no worries. If this is your first time joining our Montessori Town Halls, welcome. We host these every single Thursday throughout the academic school year from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Zoom. They're always free to join, and any Montessori school leader, director, owner is welcome. Some of the information that we share is also helpful for people that work in admissions. So just a heads up, anyone is welcome to join these calls. All right, I'm Camila Campuzano. I'm the community manager here at Montessori Thrive and Nido Marketing. Today's talk is going to focus on Montessori websites. We're going to be going and doing like a full website audit. So if you have an existing website or if you're looking to build a school website, this is just going to help create a little bit of guidance as to what is the best practice for your website. This is really the foundation to all of your digital marketing and your presence online, because if you don't have a good website, it really doesn't send the best message to prospective parents. So hopefully you'll find some good tips in today's call. Also, this is being recorded, so if you want to take notes or reference anything, you can always revisit this recording on our YouTube channel. We post all of our town halls there. It's the Nido Marketing YouTube channel. You can access a wide collection of our town hall videos there. All right. We'll talk a little bit about what makes a Montessori website good and effective. I'm going to go over a Montessori website checklist. So this is going to be a step-by-step checklist, page by page, as to what information you want to be including, where to be including marketing materials, etc. Imagery, graphics, and design. What is best practices for that? What do you want to make sure to have in terms of overall layout, design, color scheme? Content is hugely important on your Montessori website, and it's something that it's definitely worth the time and investment. I'll talk a little bit about strategic website content, what you can do to make your content more effective and communicate those messages well to prospective parents. I'll also talk about automations. Automations means that your prospective families or visitors of your website will be able to interact and take action within your website 24/7. This means they can schedule a tour. This means they can fill out a form. If these are things that people can't do on your website, and the only way that people can engage with your content is to email you or call you, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities. So I'll talk a little bit about automations, how they work, and lead generators. We're marketers, and I know that word really scares people in the Montessori space because Montessori is not a salesy space, but ultimately we need to fill our classrooms so that we can run great programs. So it's good to have a couple of marketing strategies woven into your website so that parents can, get that good impression and be able to keep your school top of mind. We'll have time for Q&A throughout. This is very much a interactive call. So if you want to unmute yourself at any point to ask a question, or utilize the chat, we'll keep an eye on the chat to make sure any comments, questions, or ideas are shared as well. All right, before we get started, I'd love to get to know one another. Feel free in the chat to comment or share where you're joining us from and why you joined today's call. Do you have an existing website that you are looking for some advice on? And maybe also, if you're comfortable at the end of the call, I can always take a look at your website and see if I have any pointers at first glance. Or you can always schedule a consultation call where we can go step by step a little bit more with some suggestions. So I'll allow a couple seconds just for everyone to introduce themselves in the chat. Sue is joining us from Lakes area, Montessori, Michigan. Wally, hi Wally. Wally's a town hall regular, joining us from Crabapple, Montessori. Always looking for ideas to improve our website. Great. Okay, so hopefully this step-by-step audit will give you a couple of insights. So first, let's dive into what makes a Montessori website good. I see another intro from Allison and Chris from Pincushion in Ashland, Massachusetts. Looking for how to make our website more appealing to prospective parents to gain new admissions. Absolutely. Your website is the foundation for this. This is why these kinds of audits are important to run. So your website matters. Today more than ever, parents are researching schools online. We're no longer in the yellow books era. Usually parents are using search engines to locate different schools in their area, and then they're going to click on those schools and check out the websites. And this is your opportunity to give them a great first impression. Think of it as your online brochure. This is going to be what, ultimately makes a parent decide, should I go in for a tour or not? Your website is the hub of your school's online presence. This means if you're a school that's looking into running digital ads or social ads, we as marketers say don't do that unless you have a great website first. Because if you're running great ad campaigns and you're driving people to a website that isn't impressive, you're missing out on a lot of your ROI, your return on your investment. And over 60% of parents are looking at your website on a smartphone or a tablet, so not even a computer. So you want to make sure that this website is purposefully designed to be easily navigated on a computer, a laptop, a tablet, or an iPhone. Something to consider. A couple of things that a good Montessori website, just off the bat, clear navigation and purposeful design. I know in the early days of building out websites, we saw a lot of gradient colors, kind of old poppy graphics, a lot of word content and walls of text. This is no longer acceptable nowadays. If you have this on your school website, it looks really outdated and unprofessional and can actually hinder you from getting admissions. So you want to make sure that your website is beautiful, easy to navigate, simple. Your content should be well curated, no big walls of text. It should be accessible. It's actually the law for any educational institution to have accessibility software integrated into their website. So just to avoid any problems, this is something you might want to consider. It's called ADA compliance. Um, Highly recommend looking into this if you don't have it on your website already, because it could result in some legal issues down the line. So definitely look at accessibility and your website. Effective and authentic imagery and graphics. Oftentimes, in the Montessori space, we do run into the schools occasionally that they are clearly authentic Montessori and they have Montessori programs and Montessori trained staff, but their website isn't reflective of this through their imagery, meaning that they're using stock photo imagery from, just like preschools, and it doesn't really connect to Montessori. And this is a huge missed opportunity, because one of the most impressive things about Montessori is our own environments, our own materials. You want to make sure that all of your imagery is authentic to who you are as a school and Montessori. Calls to action. So what do you want parents to do on your website? Usually it's either schedule a tour, come in for an open house, or submit an application. These are usually the things that we're asking parents to do. Lead generators are a big thing. You want to make sure that you're capturing important contact information. If you don't have a way to contact families, you don't have a way to follow up with them, check in with them, guide them through the admissions process. So we'll talk a little bit more about lead generators as well. Resources and parent education. In Montessori, we don't have the luxury of parents just knowing what our programs are like. This isn't traditional public schooling. We really much have to educate parents about what Montessori philosophy is, why we do things the way we do. For instance, why are we having mixed age classrooms? What are the Montessori materials? How are they different from other materials? So we need to break this down throughout our website with strategic content. Quick loading time and responsiveness is huge as well. These are things you need to consider for your website. You want to constantly be testing it, making sure that your loading times are quick, because nothing is worse than a parent trying to get on your page and it takes 30 seconds to load. They're going to get frustrated and go to the next school. That's just a reality of the world of instant gratification we live in today. So make sure that you have a functional website. Your website should aid prospective parents. So ultimately, all prospective parents have a problem to solve. And their problem is usually they need to find a school or a program for their child. These are usually the questions that they're asking and the questions that you need to then answer through your website. Does the school have a program for my child? You need to list those ages very early on, what you serve, what you offer. How much does it cost? Tuition is usually the number one question. We recommend gating it. I'll talk a little bit more about gating tuition and what this means and what this entails for schools. But this is usually after, can my child go here? It's how much will it cost me? What is Montessori anyways? What is it? What does it mean? I see that word a lot. Does it mean kids can do whatever they want? They want to learn on your website. Who are these people? Who is this school? What do they represent? What is their mission? What is their vision? What do other parents think of this? Is there social proof? Are there testimonials on the website? How can I find out more? So, can I fill out an inquiry form? Can I learn more on the program page information? And what's the next step? If I want to continue researching into the school or meeting people, what do I need to do? Do I need to attend an open house, schedule a tour, submit an application? So, these are the questions you need to be answering. How can you make sure your website is operating efficiently? Let's check out our Montessori website checklist. And feel free, if you're a Montessori Thrive member, you can download this document and you can use it to audit your website whenever, but I'm going to offer it here on the presentation for those of you who want to take notes. These are just some things to consider. If you're looking to update your website, go through this list and make sure that all of these things are ticked off. Your website, first and foremost, should be smartphone, tablet, laptop friendly, and it should be ADA compliant, meaning it's accessible. So you're using that ADA software. I highly recommend checking out our Nido sample website. It's nidosite.com. This is an example website. We've actually had to reach out to parents a couple times saying that it's not a real school, so don't register for a tour because it's not effective. It's a really purposefully designed sample Montessori website. Feel free to explore it and see how we've designed it. You can take ideas, you can compare it to yours, or you can work with us and we're happy to help you build a website. Navigation bars are something that you need to consider as well. It should be clear and concise. You should also have your school logo on the top of your navigation bar, usually on the top left-hand corner. Here we have a sample navigation bar where we have drop-down arrows. The reason we have drop-down arrows is nothing is worse than going onto a website and their navigation bar has 50 things at first glance. Simplify it, divide it, and make it purposeful. This makes it much easier to navigate on an iPhone and a tablet, because if you have a million things on your navigation bar on a smartphone, that's going to take up a big chunk when parents first go on the homepage. You want to avoid this. So we have Montessori, programs, admission, our about, blog, give if we're a nonprofit, and contact. This is going to answer those questions that we asked ourselves at the very beginning. This is how they're easily accessible they are directly on our navigation bar. Everything is purposefully designed that way. So they're learning about Montessori in that first tab through us. They're learning about our programs. Do we serve their children through us? They're learning about admissions. What's the next step? They're learning about us, who we are as a school, who we are as people. And we have our blog, which serves as our parent ed support, where they can come and learn more about Montessori directly through us, and our contact information if they want to ask any questions or take the next step. So this is how we've broken it down. What else should be on your homepage? Number one is a button for or an automation for a tour scheduling. This should be front and center, or your number one call to action. Your CTA should be front and center, whether that's scheduling a tour or signing up for an open house. We want to state what ages you serve front and center on your homepage. This is huge. You want to make sure that parents at a first glance can see who you're serving. You don't want to make them dig for information. It should be front and center. High quality images and graphics. Do not have blurry photos. Do not have outdated photos. If you're using stock photos, make sure that they're Montessori relevant. Don't just use, some crayons or that doesn't tell your story. Use something that maybe is a Montessori material. There are stock photos out there that are Montessori specific. If you have your own photography, that's best. Why Montessori? Give a brief list of the benefits of Montessori at a glance. A list of your programs and the age range for each program, because again, we kind of divide things differently. For instance, we have kindergarten in the primary classroom. That's something that's unusual. Parent reviews and testimonials. You want to have social proof front and center as well when parents are exploring your homepage. A simplified breakdown of how to apply. We usually like to do a 3-step process. I'll show this on our sample website. Lead magnets to collect contact information. For instance, things like, is Montessori right for your child quiz, download, maybe our curriculum information. And this is a short form that parents can fill out with their first and last name and their email address, and they'll receive the material automatically. Then you can follow up with that once you have their contact information. Your footer should include secondary navigation, your contact information, and your social media links. Make sure you have your Instagram is your number one most important social media link as a school nowadays. It used to be Facebook. It's moved on to Instagram, and that could change in the future because trends are changing, but millennial parents and young Gen Z parents are on Instagram. So here's a sample of our Nido site homepage. This is the first thing that parents are greeted with when they're logging onto our homepage. So you see the navigation bar up top with the drop downs. You see the schedule a tour button on the upper right-hand corner. That's always there. And you see our logo on the left-hand corner. You have a high-quality graphic here of a Montessori student from the school. You have a little quote about what we do, Education for Life. Here you see Montessori school for children ages 3 months to 15 years. So automatically parents can say, oh, my child falls within that. A button to schedule a tour. And down here you see this little blue button with a person. This is our ADA software. So if a parent needs accessibility help, they can click on this blue button and the website will be easier for them to navigate. When they scroll down, they see our mission, so they can learn about who we are. And they learn a little bit about why so many families choose Montessori. So here we have some testimonials. Programs. At a glance, we break it down: infant, toddler, primary, elementary, middle school. Parents can click on these and explore the program information page for each, and they can see the age ranges so they can see where their child would be relevant. Again, our testimonials, you want to make sure to have social proof on your website. Something that's become a recent thing with Google is actually Google reviews is no longer permitting parents to leave Google reviews when it comes to schools or educational institutions. So it kind of gives us a little bit more control as to what social proof we're putting out there. So we're looking at the silver lining of this, and we can put those happy stories and success stories on our website so that parents can see that we've worked really well for other families. This is our 1, 2, 3 how to apply. So it's a very easy breakdown of what we want parents to do, and that's schedule a tour, submit an application, and join our community. So they can see at a glance, they're not intimidated, and they can see how it's going to work. We have a little summary of the latest from our blog. I'll talk a little bit about about having a blog on your website, because if it's something that you don't have on your website, it's something that you should have on your website, and you should update it regularly, whether that's 1 blog a month, 1 blog bi-weekly or weekly. Find a frequency that works, but you want to have a regularly updated blog for SEO purposes, for parent education purposes, for retention purposes, and it does help establish your school as a thought leader. When parents are learning about Montessori directly from your school, you become more trustworthy, you become a source of information. If I think about, if I'm comparing 2 schools, one school has a blog where I learned about what planes of development means, what benefits of multi-aging grouping actually entails, what is the role of a Montessori teacher, versus a school that doesn't have that information on their website. I'm going to trust the one that has all that information on their website a little bit more. And that's just why we really do encourage schools to invest time in their blog. If you're looking for help with your blog, we have content in our content services where we actually write. We have a Montessori writer on staff where we'll write weekly blogs for Montessori schools. So this is something that we know it works. We've seen it work for many of our clients. You want to make sure to have a blog on your website. This is an example of our lead generator that we have on our homepage. So this is just scrolling down on the homepage. This is our Montessori or conventional, what's best for your family. Read the article. This is how short the form is. They just have to fill in their first name, last name, and email. As soon as they hit this orange button that says send me the article, they will receive it automatically in an inbox. This is powered by a CRM, a client relationship manager. You can use other software to manage your automations on your website, but this allows for parents to engage with the content whenever, whether they're looking at the website at 1 a.m., they're looking at the website at 12 p.m. They can see that they're going to automatically receive this article in their inbox, which is important. You don't want to do it 8 hours later when they've already forgotten about it. So you want to make sure you have those automations integrated into your website. Any questions about the homepage before we move on to the program pages? So I know that was a lot of information. The homepage is really where you should get started on making improvements, because again, this is the first thing they're going to see usually. Okay. So your program informations pages, they should really include detailed but edited information about your program. You don't need to include every single detail about the program. This will be more discussed during your tour. So do include the benefits of your program. What makes it stand out from other programs? For instance, why is your primary program better than others. This is what you're trying to convey. You want to include the hours, include good pictures that are specific to that program. Use sections and bullet points to break up your text. At all costs, avoid massive walls of text that aren't broken up either into subparagraphs or things like that, because that can be very, it's not nice to navigate, especially on a smartphone. Have a schedule a tour option available on all of your program pages. This is your main CTA and should be included throughout your website. Include relevant lead magnets. So a lead magnet that could be relevant for that page could be maybe offering a scope and sequence or plane of development information on that development stage for the child. These are great options to include as lead generators. If you can capture that contact information, you can personally follow up with that parent. This is huge. So definitely consider doing that. Don't, again, I'm going to say this throughout the presentation so many times because I think this is probably this is something I see every now and then when I look at some Montessori websites. Is we're educators. We want to include so much detailed information about our philosophy because we're passionate about what we do, but please do not provide big walls of text. Don't include blurry photos or photos that look too staged or stock photo or obviously stock photos. I think that's what you want to avoid. It looks inauthentic and it tells the parent that why can't I see pictures of the school or that feel like Montessori? It doesn't feel like they're being true to themselves. Don't include too much information. Remember, you can explain all of the details and answer questions during tours. I also put don't include tuition on your website. I believe that gating your tuition is beneficial. This way parents can learn a little bit more about your school before the tuition and see the value before the cost. I'll talk a little bit more and I'll give an example as to what our tuition page looks like on our sample website. And don't use language that is too Montessori. I think we get accustomed to our own vocabulary because we use it so often. Things like grace and courtesy or practical life. We know what this means, but people who are new to Montessori don't. So if you're going to use that terminology, make sure you're explaining it or you're breaking it down so that parents can understand our approach a little bit more. You don't want people to feel intimidated. And again, you can always explain things more in detail when they come in for a visit, but use very simple language when it comes to explaining your programs. Here's a sample of our toddler program page. So here off the bat, you see it's 18 to 36 months, a little summary about what it means to be in this stage of development. Our hours for this program, this is huge. We have oftentimes 2 working parents in a household, so they need to know the times. So that's at a glance. When you scroll down, you see we don't have a massive wall of text. Things are breaking down into subsections here. And we talk about the highlights of the program. All right. Your admissions section should include detailed information about your school's admissions process. So we're moving on to admissions. Any questions about program information before we move on to this section of the website? The main takeaways is don't put too much information. Break down your information and make sure that it really answers the burning questions that parents want, like what ages does it serve? What are the hours? Why should I pick your program? That's what a program information page should have. All right, so when it comes to admissions, the dues, you want to make it very clear on how parents can apply. Break down that process step by step and make it as simple as possible and make expectations clear. Offer them information that will help them make an informed decision on their child's school that establishes you as a thought leader. I often like to include an FAQ in the admissions dropdown. This way parents can see if they have a question up there that's already been answered. If not, they can contact us at with the inquiry form. If you can offer a virtual tour, this is great. I know some schools have done this kind of after COVID. This is something you can offer. Or you can offer a live virtual, like you can do a pre-recorded one or a live one for working parents, or you can kind of work around a schedule for working parents as well. Include a tuition request form. Again, this is what I mean when I said gating your tuition. I'll show you the sample tuition request form that we have in a couple slides. If your school offers financial aid of any sort, make sure to include it in this section. So we have information on financial aid on the drop down for your admissions section. This is something that some parents might be interested in learning more about. Don't leave out key information about applying. Make sure any due dates are included. If you have a wait list, all of this you want to make sure is included. Make things confusing or add too much information. You want to break things down into steps, make it seem as simple as possible. Parents are probably going to be applying to a couple of schools in the area, so you want to make sure that yours is approachable. Again, don't state your tuition here. Remember the form, and I'll say why a little bit more later. Here's our basic admissions page. So this is what happens if parents click on admissions. They'll see a breakdown, 1, 2, 3, 4. So number 1 is schedule a tour, and we have the schedule a tour button here again, so the parents can schedule a tour online automatically. They'll receive an email confirmation and then usually an SMS update or an email update 24 hours before the tour to finally confirm. We run all of this through our CRM, our client relationship manager, and you can send them updates via that, or your admissions team can do that. They will submit an application. So after coming in for a tour, they'll be able to submit an application. We said here, please keep in mind our phases do fill early. If you have a wait list, you can say we currently have a wait list, but feel free to join. And we will do our best to find a spot for your child. Secure your child's enrollment. This is key. You not only need to submit an application, but once you're given a spot, you need to pay the deposit. You need to take the next step so that you actually secure that spot, how that works. And then, of course, join the community, connect with us on social media, and find out about events or learn more about what we have to offer. So this is all we have on our admissions page. It's not too much. All right. Any questions on admissions? I'll talk a little bit more about tuition information as well later, because I've made a couple comments about gating your tuition. All right, in your about, this is the section of this is going back to the checklist, the section of your website that allows you to introduce yourself to prospective parents so that they can get a peek into your community. Things that you do want to do is talk about your school history. If you have a great story, I know some Montessoris, a lot of them tend to have stories about how families got together and started a Montessori school in their area, or maybe it was a mother who wanted a Montessori for their own children and they were able to build one for their community. So if you have a story that's fun, please do share it. Share your mission and vision statement. This should be something that every school should work on. And your values. So what are your values as a school? What do you stand for? What are your beliefs? If you have any sort of accreditation, talk about this as well, especially AMI and AMS. If you have this, put the logo for AMI or AMS, talk about what that accreditation means, what it entails, because it is no easy task to have an accreditation and maintain it. You want to make sure that parents understand the value of it. Introduce your staff with pictures and bios of everyone. This is great to have some information about your guides, your assistants, your office staff, your administration team. Include your school calendar as well. Usually we update this annually. Include a news section and update it regularly with school events. And include a section about careers where people can submit applications and you can advertise open positions for free as well. I know this has been a challenge in the last couple of years is recruiting. Somewhere you can recruit for job positions for free is your website. So we'll talk a little bit about building a careers page. This wouldn't obviously be in your first about page. Your first about page in the drop-down menu would probably just include your history, vision, mission, and your program, a little bit like of an introduction about what you do. And then you would have maybe a school, like for current enrolled families, you'd have a calendar, an events page, and then you would have a news section as well. And then you would have a careers page separate to all of these other things. What you don't want to have, again, blurry images, and you don't want to have too much text. That is something that you definitely want to avoid. Okay. Any questions about your about page? And I'll go through that later when I navigate through our Nido site. All right, so your blog. Again, we mentioned blogs briefly. They're important things that you want to have in your education, your parenting education blogs. Things you want to do, update this section regularly. Don't have a blog that you start, you post 3 great blogs, and then you abandon it for 2 years. Looks really unprofessional. Looks like you started something with good intentions and weren't able to see it through. That speaks to what your school is able to manage. So either have a consistent blog or don't have one at all. This is the thing that I want schools to understand a little bit more, because if it's left unattended, it can actually give a negative impression. Include blogs that will help parents understand Montessori. So what questions are parents asking you? What do you notice is being asked about in the tours? These are your blog topics. Include pictures and videos in your blog. You can actually link other YouTube videos that are informative. So there's so many influencers out there nowadays that are making content that's Montessori related. It doesn't have to always come directly from you. You can always repost other people's content that's posted publicly online, such as on YouTube, and include pictures. When it comes to pictures, you have to be a little bit more careful. You want to make sure that you have the right to post those pictures. A great stock photo option is Pexels. I think some iStock photos are free, others you have to pay for, or of course use your own photography, which is always going to be the best option. Break up your blogs using bullet points or subparagraphs, lists, make your content manageable. A blog doesn't have to be long. It can be 500 words, even a little bit less. It doesn't have to be something that takes a long time, and you can actually repurpose blogs. So let's say you wrote a great blog about planes of development 4 years ago. A lot of those parents have now matured onto the next programs. So you can recycle those blogs, maybe update them with new pictures, and you can repost them. As long as you're consistently updating your blog section, you're helping your website. Things that you you also want to make sure you're sharing your blogs on social media. So if you have an Instagram or a Facebook, which you should always be resharing that content wherever possible. Don't use images that you don't own or have the right to. Remember, use those free stock photos or photos that you own. Don't use too much text without breaking it up. Don't write very long blogs either, because that can be a little bit too much of a commitment for parents. You want to make sure that they're answering questions in a concise and effective way. You don't ever just want to just post text. You should always have at least one image, even if it's just the header. And don't abandon your blog. Don't abandon your blog. When we go back to our Nido site, we'll kind of navigate through some of our sample blogs. You can always reference them if you need a reference point. Right, give. Before I move on, any questions about blogs or content for blogs? I also want to say, if you're looking to get started on writing your own blog, if that's something that you want to do, we have some resources on that in Montessori Thrive, our resource collection. So if you're a member, you can access our 100 Montessori blog ideas, how to structure your blog. We have a couple YouTube videos on how to format your blogs. So I recommend checking out our YouTube channel as well for some resources. All right, for our give section, this is just if you're a nonprofit and you want to be able to fundraise directly on your website, you should have this. This is a great way for you to collect funds. Things that you want to do here is explain why parents should donate, why they should give to your school. Perhaps you're trying to build a new program, add an extension to a building, or build a playground. These are all things that you can talk about on your give section. Be clear about how the money is spent. This is important if you're asking parents to donate, and allow parents to give donations directly online. Don't overlook this area, because it's a great way to receive tuitions throughout the year without doing much work. And don't be vague about why you need donations. Be specific about where that money is going towards and how the people that are donating are helping the school. This is an example of our give page on the Nido site. All gifts to Nido Marketing to Nido Montessori School are 100% tax deductible. Your support allows Nido schools to continue to provide exceptional Montessori education for our students. And here, parents are able to pay with the credit card, submit a payment to go to our fundraising efforts. Graphics and imagery. Your website is all about telling a visual story. Photography on your website should be authentic and captivating, and graphics should be Montessori relevant, and it should all relate back and connect to your brand. Photography and graphics do's and don'ts. You want to make sure you have high quality photographs that are Montessori relevant. Use consistent brand fonts and colors throughout your website. So if your logo is, you know, a specific shade of blue. You want to make sure to get the color code for that and use that specific shade of blue throughout your website and make sure it's consistent. You don't want to use 30 different shades of blue throughout your website. It doesn't look consistent. Make sure that everything ties together nicely. Use infographics, so charts, graphics, things like that can help you tell your story as well. Don't use generic stock photos. I guarantee you the parents nowadays, younger parents, they grew up online. They can spot a staged stock photo from a mile away. And what this tells parents is this, I can't actually see an image from this school. I don't trust it. So use stock photos that feel authentic and use them sparingly and try to use a couple of images from your actual school. Don't use colors that are not connected to your brand or on your logo or really are not the most appropriate for Montessori. Things that I see a lot is they have a beautiful school logo and then their website is rainbow. If you're a rainbow Montessori, this makes sense, but if that's not in your logo or branding, it really doesn't, it just looks like it doesn't connect to the brand. So you want to make sure that the colors and graphics tell your story, connect to your brand throughout the website. And don't use fonts that are inconsistent as well. Settle on a font and use that throughout your website. If you need Montessori photography, we can help. We have a photography service. You don't have to use our own. You can also work with a local photographer. I also suggest maybe looking in your own community. Maybe you have a parent that's a photographer, whatever works for you. But if you're looking for support, we have some. If you subscribe to our full marketing plan, it's actually included. We'll send a photographer to your school for free if you commit to a year of our full marketing plan. But I do recommend hiring a photographer and building a stock photo library. This is something you don't have to do very frequently, maybe once every 10 years, maybe even more, less frequently than that. Because once you have a photo library of, let's say, a couple hundred photos, you can use this over the years. Doesn't matter if that child is now 25 years old, that picture is still relevant to your school and your community, and you can use it over and over again. So it's worth the investment. Website content. So content is really crucial. Don't make assumptions about what visitors know about Montessori education. You really want to help people understand what Montessori is, what sets it apart, what specifically sets your school apart. So these are questions you need to answer through purposeful content. How can you improve website content? Publish a regular blog is an easy way to do this. Be purposeful with your program information. This means don't include too much information, answer the big questions, which is, what is this program? Why is it different or better than others? Why should I want my child to go here? So answer those questions, break it down, and then invite parents for a tour. Offer resources and lead generators for parents to engage with. If there's not things for parents to click on or explore on your website, you don't have a well thought out website. You want parents to spend time on your website exploring and learning. This builds trust. This gives a better first impression. Consider using videos, testimonials, things like parenting or parent education videos are helpful. If you have kind of a little ad video that you've worked on, that's great as well. But having a video is a great way to enhance your content. Weekly Montessori blog articles. This educates parents. It establishes you as a thought leader, as I mentioned earlier. When parents learn directly from you, it builds trust and it makes you an authority on Montessori. It encourages parents to explore more on your website. So when you have a blog, parent might read one, and they're like, oh, that was interesting, I'll read another one. While learning a lot about Montessori directly from that. Can also help with retention with your current families. It builds a reference library on your website. So when you have a parent come in for a tour and they ask a question, you can answer it on the spot and say, if you want to learn more about it, we have a blog. If you go on our blog section, we have all this information on planes of development or all this information on mixed age classrooms. It'll give you an excuse with each post to reach out to your email list and social channels. So you can put together a newsletter with resources. So all of those prospective families that you've gathered through your lead generators or through inquiry forms, you can follow up with a newsletter every month and keep them up to date and informed and learning about Montessori directly from you. Again, this is just our blog section again. Automations. Any questions about blogs? All right, automations make your website easy to engage with. Parents should be able to request information or a tour in a couple of clicks. If they can't do this, if the only way for a parent to take the next step is to email you or call you directly, they're going to get annoyed and they're probably going to see other schools first. They should just be able to do this automatically. It's expected nowadays. It's just the standard of how things work now. So why automations matter? It's what allows your website to work for you. If you have to do everything manually, not only is that outdated and looks unprofessional, but it just creates more work for you that is unnecessary. Um, Automations also ensure that you follow up with every prospective parent. It will send an automated email every time they submit a lead generator request or request a tour. They're automatically going to receive personalized communication from you, and it's going to save you so much time. It also just makes you look a lot more professional in their eyes. It reminds you to take action. It allows you to track them through your admissions pipeline. So if you're using something like a CRM software, it'll allow you to take a look at, oh, this person filled out an inquiry form and they scheduled a tour. They're in this stage of the admissions process. I'm going to follow up with them and I'm going to make sure that I can guide them through step by step. So this is a tool that's easy for your admissions team to use. Organizes communications, emails, text in one place. You can always reference it, have a library of it, be able to label things and add tags. This will help you keep track of all of those people that are coming in through your website so that you're making sure that you're really capitalizing on the leads you're gaining. This is important. A way to do this is through lead generators. I showed you that one example about our quiz. Here's another one, the Montessori difference. Discover the 5 biggest limitations with traditional education and how Montessori can unleash your child's independence, confidence, and love for learning. Sign up for our free 5-day email course. This is a way that you're sending those emails automatically. It'll trigger an automation that will send them 1 email per day for 5 days. They're learning about Montessori directly from you in a more personal way. And that will, of course, hopefully invite them to schedule a tour or fill out an inquiry form with follow-up questions, etc. This is another quiz. Is Montessori right for your child? Take our short quiz to find out. It'll pop up on our website. This is how we gate our tuition. Request tuition information. Tuition varies by program. Complete this form to receive tuition rates for your child. I'm also going to reference later our full tuition landing page because this is a huge thing you can do when it comes to strategizing on your website, because this is usually what parents will do is they'll go on your homepage, they'll be like, oh, it looks good. How much is it going to cost me? They're going to go straight to admissions, tuition. They're going to see the price and they're going to be like, yes or no. And they're going to leave and they won't think about it again. If you kind of lead them into it and talk about the value, then you open up the conversation, because ultimately parents want what's best for their kids. So if you can show them the value that you're offering and why it costs what it costs, then you leave room for a conversation to be had rather than losing them before you've even had a chance to properly talk to them. All right, let's explore the Nido site a little bit. I'm going to share my screen again momentarily. Feel free to ask any questions if you have any so far, because I know that was a lot of information. All right, let me share my screen here again. So here I am on the Nido site. Let's go reference some points that that I mentioned earlier. This is our pop-up. So here I am on the home page, and you can see when I scroll down, this is our homepage as you saw pictures earlier for it. So we have lead generator here, we have our program information, our testimonials. This is our ADA compliance software. So if those accessibility needs, they'll be able to use this to navigate our website more easily. This is just at a glance. And again, you can access this whenever you want if you're looking to automate or look for some examples. Allison says, we have a question. Hi, Allison.
Hi. Hi. Hi, this is Allison and Chris. I'm Chris. Hi, everyone. I love your work. I love the Nido. We have your website. You built it for us, and it's a champion website, I must say.
Great.
So we're very pleased. You ladies are very brilliant. It's nice working with you. I wish I had more time to spend with you, but I'm trying. So my question is, we had a great flux of interest when the site went up earlier, and now it's just gone whoop. So what I need help with is we need a professional photographer. We have a parent at the school who is a professional photographer and a professor of photography, but
Mhm.
her life is so busy. And because she's not has the Montessori understanding, my concern is having her come in and then I'm going to be uncomfortable working with her. So I need to hire a photographer to help us. And if there's some way that somebody could kind of walk us through our site and just talk to us a little bit, those are my two questions. So primary is a photographer, three questions. My primary question is how can we encourage more interest? Secondly, is a photographer, and third is kind of reviewing our site as is now.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where we're at. Thank you.
Okay, so for your photography, I think that's a very valid concern. Not everyone understands how to capture the essence of Montessori and those natural moments of the learning, and it can be a little bit intimidating sometimes for a photographer who isn't familiar with Montessori to come into a space and know how to capture those moments. Something I would recommend is find a website. We can give you some examples. Um, we'll send you a couple of via email or to take a look at a stock photo library and maybe send that over to the parent or the photographer that you choose to work with because they can get some idea of what they're trying to capture that way, like what the photography should look like.
Okay.
It's not just about capturing a kid coloring, it's the materials, a kid in concentration, a kid with a guide, and those moments of beauty that we see every day in the Montessori classroom. Um,
Right. So
that's important.
can she hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so we have tremendous gardens here, for example, and right now all the bulbs are up. We have over 3,000 bulbs up now, and the children are all in the gardens planting with me.
Wow.
I'm the science teacher as well. And so I don't want to lose. We know we have 4 seasons, but here we have 5 because we have so much plant vegetation. The
Right.
gardens are 40 years old. So it's really important for really showcasing our botany program, zoology program, as well as
Mhm.
everything else. And we have an incredible space here. So, do you have directly any understanding of anyone in Massachusetts or Metro West of Massachusetts, a photographer out this way, or I just not kind of need to research?
Um,
Um,
Camilla, I can jump in here a little bit
Go ahead,
too.
Elizabeth.
Chris, I'll send you some photographer recommendations and kind of what our process is. And share that over with you if that's okay.
Sure.
And that way we can go through and I'll share that to you and kind of how we can help with that part there for you too.
Because we're to your point, we have too many stock photos right now. And prior to I was laughing. I said, you must have read our website that was 42 pages long. Because our old website was exactly that. Um, but
Okay.
anyway, long story short, so the stock photos, we need them basically to go away and revive our essence of our school,
Right.
Mhm.
because that's how we champion people to come over and visit, because they can't quite understand it until they're here.
Right.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And that's why the photography is so important and to have photos that are relevant to your own school, not just the stock photos. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. The other one is videos, and drones. I don't know if schools are using drones, and I don't know how expensive that is, but videos and drones I think would be helpful. What I keep hearing from everybody is people are more interested now in real short snippets of videos of a school so they can kind of see it in live action rather than the still photos. I don't know if that's relevant or not. Not sure.
I would say that's true. The short snippets go a long way, and you don't have to, necessarily hire a drone photographer, videographer, because that can be pricey. Even
Right.
if you can find a photographer, maybe they can take those short snippets. Maybe each snippet is 5 seconds. There's just some movement, and you can layer those together,
Yeah. Okay.
to make a video. That could be helpful.
Yes. Yeah, we did try this before, about 10 years ago with a parent, but we didn't know what we were doing. It's somewhere in the world of the cloud, but it,
Yeah.
it didn't come out too well. No.
No, well, like Elizabeth mentioned, we'll send over a list of of people that can maybe help in your area. But
Mhm.
yeah, and once you have a good photographer and good videographer, you really don't have to do it again for years.
Right.
You can use that content over and over again. And I understand about wanting to capture
Exactly.
those moments in nature, that's something that's huge in Montessori. If you have that, that can definitely differentiate your school. So capture those moments, definitely.
Yes, definitely. So the next question was how do we encourage more traffic? I guess is the word, I'm not sure. It was really heavy. We were getting like 30, 40 calls. And now it's just it's slowed down really low. We reintroduced our toddler program. I eliminated my elementary program for a bit, and I'm going to probably reintroduce the elementary program. So I have to get way more traffic on my site on a daily basis, and the phone really needs to be ringing off the hook. So I'm not sure how to navigate that work because I just don't understand all that stuff.
The thing that comes to mind is once you have a good website, you can start running ads. I'm not sure if you're running Google ads or social media ads to drive traffic. That's probably going to be the biggest, going to make the biggest change for that long term. I would also say that there are certain periods of the year that are going to be a little bit busier. Although with a Montessori school, we would probably see some form of interest year round as children are always coming into age for our programs. But I know for many schools, their heavy enrollment period or re-enrollment period is usually like in February, March. So that's when things really, really pick up, and then they kind of go quiet for a bit, and then they really, really pick up again. But I would say if you want to increase traffic, Google Ads and social ads is going to help the most.
And would someone be interested in looking at our site again, and just guide us through? Allie and I would be available to do that. I don't know if there's a cost entailed with that or how that would work. Please.
No, we can do that for sure. And Camilla, if we have time at the end of this call, we can even look at their site.
Absolutely.
If not, I can arrange another time with you, Chris, to go through your website and kind of look at it. For
All
sure.
right. That'd be terrific. Thank you so much, ladies.
Yeah, sure. Any other questions or comments? Those are great questions. All right, I just wanted to show quickly what I meant about that tuitions landing page. Again, you can reference this whenever you need to. This is our tuitions and fee page. If you scroll down, you see a bunch of information about what parents will be receiving from our school versus what they won't be receiving if they choose not to attend. So this way they're learning about the value. And then here they're led in to fill out this form. So this is important to include on your tuition information page. I know some schools are hesitant to do this, and that's fine. If you really are against gating your tuition, you don't have to. But just know that this is the number one thing that parents look to. And if they don't like what they see, they're gonna check out before they've even had a chance to really explore and get to know you. Whereas here, they at least have to read this before filling out this and then getting an email about it. So, and then you have their contact information so you can follow up with them. You can send them additional information and resources. So that's something to consider. This is our inquiry form. I just wanted to show that sample as well. Do not put your email address on your inquiry page. This is a way to get spam, and it's also not necessarily the best way to get leads. Put your phone number, but not your email address, and put your socials. And that way parents can fill out the form and submit that automatically. But yes, I recommend having a little explore through the Nido site if you want some inspiration. It's a resource that we have available. All right, before we wrap up, I wanted to say this weekend I will be in Miami with our co-founder Kasim. We're going to be hosting a Montessori Growth Summit. So if you're in the Miami or South Florida area, if you're an administrator, a Montessori school leader, please join us. We're going to be at Montessori School in Miami Beach. This is a free event. Anyone can join. We'll be giving a presentation, but we'll also be allowing a space for Montessori leaders in the area to network. Refreshments will be provided as well. It's going to start at 10:30 a.m. and should wrap up by 2 p.m. So if you know anyone in the Florida area, we look forward to welcoming you. All right. Any questions? I guess we have time, Allison, if you want to go through your take a peek at your website now, and if not, we can follow up. Let's see here. Let me pull it up. This is thank you for the information. And again, this will be on YouTube. So if you want to reference anything that we've discussed. So here I am. Let me just share my screen. Here, this is your website, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Gorgeous. I see here the pop-up in Cushion Hill, Montessori upcoming open houses. This is a great CTA. So this is the photography that you currently have, correct? This is a stock photography.
Right. Which we want to change that out as soon as possible. Yeah.
Okay. I can see, I mean, it's always best to have your own school, but at least the stock photo imagery is Montessori
Yes.
relevant. So it's not,
Right.
necessarily
nice.
giving a negative impression.
Right.
Here's your about us, a little bit. Okay, this is great. This follows the template. Why Montessori? Here you have the programs again. This is great. And again, I recognize some of these from our Nido stock photo library, but they don't give the impression of being a generic
Right.
stock photo. So that's a positive. Here we have another CTA for schedule a tour. You have it up here as well with your logo. You have your how to apply, testimonials. This is great. Your blog summary. And here's a lead generator. So hopefully this is helping you get a couple of
Yes.
leads. Okay. So I would say this is an effective homepage. Everything is running smoothly. I can understand you wanted to add a little bit more school-specific photography and imagery that can be updated once you have the photographs. That can be an easy change.
And then the piece as you scroll down, yes. So we talk about our gardens and we talk about our murals, which are internal murals that are painted on walls and these hallways, which we use as a guide for science lessons. It's kind of interesting to see them. But anyway, what I need someone to do is to video them while I explain them and the purpose of their educational needs for the children, so that we could have a button, say, where it says curated garden spaces, have a button right there, and it would bring them right away to the gardens. Because I would say that those two perspectives stand out in our school here more than anything I've ever seen. And I've been doing this for over 40 years. So those pieces is what we need to emphasize. And then we have one on the biomes of the world. So those, yeah. And then I have one now on space education. I created a whole room for space education and earth education. So there's actually 3.
Yeah, no, you can that can be added on like a button here that redirects to information about your garden, and you can include that video tour or the murals and the garden as well. You can add that here. That would be, I think, good.
Right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Once you have that content, I'm sure the web team you can work with, you would have to contact your client manager. Is this correct, Elizabeth? They would have to contact the CM.
Yes.
And then they could get that up.
Okay, great.
Right, your program information. Let's have a look here. Everything is broken up in sections. This is exactly what we would want to see. This is what makes it easy to navigate on an iPhone as well, which is how a lot of parents are. And you have the testimonials. Yeah. And you have the schedule a tour and up here as well. So this is what we're looking for program information. Your admissions drop down. You have the how to apply. This is going to be the step-by-step. Yeah, this is all working very smoothly so far. Again, this imagery is not hindering the experience. So I understand wanting to have if you have a beautiful garden and you want to showcase, absolutely, but it doesn't tell an inauthentic story. So here's your open house information. Okay, you have one today.
Yes, this evening. We're trying evening ones. It's helpful.
Right, because this is the thing, is a lot of households have 2 working parents, so that is helpful for accessibility purposes for those families, for sure. Here's your Q&A. This is great. You have the tuition landing page. This is probably a form that parents, I imagine, fill out a lot quite a bit because this is the number one piece of information that parents want. So it's definitely effective to get that contact information. Here you have your about, all of your blog content. Okay, I mean, I think this website is pretty effective. If the main changes you want to make is adding more of your own photography, I think that would be a good update.
Okay.
And that could be done. We can give you some suggestions, and then once you have that content up, we'll help you get it up on your website.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Terrific. Thank you.
I see here a question. A DM, does Google penalize it if it finds the same content for blogs on different Nido clients' website? Yes and no. Google takes a lot of things into consideration, and it's very difficult to figure out their ever-changing algorithms. A lot of it factors into your location. So it will look into the content to some extent, and if there's a lot of all of the same blogs, then yes. But you can always make certain tweaks to the content. And also not necessarily is the answer. I don't know if I did the best job at answering that, Elizabeth. Maybe when it comes to our
And
blog content.
that's a very relevant point. It's become a lot more relevant in the past months or so, of everything kind of looking the same and publishing the same blogs for all of our clients. So that is something that we are working on improving. But at this point, yes, to Camilla's answer, yes and no. And we're working on ways to make it a hard no. This is why it won't affect you in that aspect.
If you add different imagery, if you make small tweaks, it will help for sure. Differentiate the content. So those are things that you can do that take a little bit less time, and it will make the content a little bit more your own. But yeah, Google is always changing, and the way that they assess content is always changing. I think what's most important when it comes to what Google wants to see is consistency. So regularly publishing blogs. So if it's something that you do regularly, it's going to help your SEO if you include images and tag them appropriately. And if you're resharing those links to your blogs on social media, so on Facebook, on Instagram, when possible on Twitter, because the more that link is seen around on Google, the more that it can kind of build trust and say, oh, that this is a website that people are linking to. This is a page that people are clicking on, whether it's on, they're being redirected to this page. I can build trust with it that way. So that's what I would suggest to do when it comes to using our blog content, if that's something that you're subscribed to. Any other questions? Does anyone else want us to have a look at their website? If not, we're happy to answer any questions you may have. You can always email me. I'm gonna drop my email here in the chat. You can reach out to me if you have any future town hall topic requests as well. I plan these very much on your needs. So if you ever want to discuss a topic, whether it's social media, whether it's school leadership, whether it's staffing, please let me know. Next week, we're going to talk about internal marketing. So getting parents to stay at your school by cultivating a culture. So things from parent education to building a stronger community, whether that's through social media, whether that's through in-person events, whether that's through fundraising or building a PTA. We'll talk about all of those things next week, and you can ask questions or see what other leaders are doing in their own communities in order to increase retention and have a good internal marketing. And again, if you're in Miami or in the Florida area, I look forward to seeing you this weekend in person for our first in-person event that's I think like since before COVID. Other than the AMS events. This is our own event that we're hosting. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you there. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your Thursday, and thank you so much for all of your questions and comments. I hope this was a helpful call. Take care, everyone.